In front of you, you will see a new 18 by 24 inch vellum sheet. This is where we're going to be placing our 1/4 inch elevation checkpoint drawings on. You need to have a new sheet with a new title block created. It is going to be set up the same way. You're going to show your logo, your first name, your last name, and initial or initial. You're going to label it elevations at a 1/2 inch scale. And then also you're going to write the scale of a 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. For your sheet number, it's now going to be sheet number 3 of 5. Once you have these items together, you are ready to begin drawing your elevations. You want to make sure that your surface and your sheet is nice and clear. You want to have your previous 1/4 inch elevations nearby with those measurements on there so that you can have them as a reference, because you're going to be referencing back to them as you begin to draw. So what I've done is went ahead and set my elevation sheet on my board, because this is where I would choose to have them. You can place them on a wall or at a table nearby. The spacing of your sheet is up to you. You want to make sure that you have enough room to fit all of your drawings on your entire sheet, and leave rooms on the side of them so that you can put in your dimensions. I'm going to start by drawing in my floor and then also my ceiling height. And then from there, you'll be set to go. So just find a good place on your sheet to begin drawing. All of your measurements are written out, so you should be already ahead. That is the good thing of drawing them at the 1/4 inch scale first, so that you'll have these measurements and you can translate them on your 1/2 inch scale. Notice I've set my parallel bar to a nice space, somewhere not quite in the middle, a little bit above the middle of my drawing sheet. And I am simply finding a place to begin to just draw in a line, not too heavy, that represents the floor line. As you can see, I've moved this a couple times so I can get a good spot. So that floor line is drawn in. Now it's time to put in our ceiling height, using again that 1/2 inch scale. We know our ceiling height is 8 feet. So what I will be doing now is lining my 0 up to my floor line on the 1/2 inch scale, and then measuring over to 8 feet. Once I count up and find that 8 feet mark, I can go ahead and draw in my ceiling. Now that we have our ceiling in, we can begin to start and work our drawing from left to right. I know that the outside wall is 7 inches. So I'm just going to create a line anywhere on that 1/2 inch scale, and I'm going to measure over 7 inches on my 1/2 inch scale. The outside first wall can be anywhere. And then let's go ahead and measure. We know that halfway up the scale is 6 inches, and one more mark over is 7 inches. So we're just going to make that mark. And now I have drawn here the exterior wall of the south wall of the kitchen. I can take my 1/4 inch scale and measure the entire length of that wall. You may already have this written in, but if not, feel free to go ahead and do so. Notice that I am placing the 0 right on the edge of the wall, and then I can go ahead and measure directly across. I placed it on the edge of the inside wall, and it came to be 11.5 inches, on the exterior wall. At 11.5 inches, I make my mark and proceed to draw the right side of the wall in the kitchen. Now this wall is your refrigerator wall, and it's an interior wall in your drawing. We know that our interior walls are 5 inches, so we need to measure in 5 inches to show the wall thickness. Once we have that wall thickness, we have created a border for our south wall kitchen view. Again, we are using that 1/2 inch scale. And at this time, you can begin to draw in any order that you like, from the top to the bottom, from left to right. It is up to you. You have all of your measurements to do as you please. I'm going to go ahead and possibly start with putting in my toe kicks. I know my toe kick is 4 inches, or I can also draw in my countertops. So if I make the mark for my countertop, and I'm making it at 36 inches or 3 feet, I can draw in a light line to represent my counters. Next, I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way to go. I want to go ahead and draw in my refrigerator heights. So we know our refrigerators are either 5 feet or 6 feet. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure mine for the maximum height of 6 feet. So making that mark on my 1/2 inch scale, I now see where my refrigerator will stop when it is standing straight up or I'm standing in front of it. And then I'm going to measure the width of my refrigerator. And we know that the width of our refrigerator, according to our floor plan, is 36 inches or 3 feet. So again, using my 1/2 inch scale, I'm going to go to the 3 foot mark, go over to my 0, and now I have my width. Using my triangle again for that vertical straight line, I can now draw in my refrigerator completely and just clean up any lines that aren't connecting. Remember, you want to make sure that your lines are all connecting and your drawing is crisp and clear. From here, I'm going to go back to just put in my toe kicks at 4 inches. I'm going to draw it straight across. Now our stove is on this wall and it doesn't have a toe kick. However, we'll just go back and erase if I need to and when I need to. But I just want to draw in that toe kick line. Now I can begin to put in each of those base cabinets and making marks for them. From my measurements, the first cabinet is 24 inches or 2 feet, and I'm making a mark on my 1/2 inch scale at 2 feet. Then I'm going to go over another 12 inches or a foot. And then our stove is 30 inches, which means it is 2.5 feet. So I'm just going to slide over to that 1/2 inch mark. and make my mark at the 2 because I now have 2.5 from the outside of that 12-inch cabinet. And then that 24 should meet right on the side of our refrigerator. Again, this 1/4 inch drawing is already our layout. We can actually see it. We're just upscaling and taking all our information and measurements and drawing it again on that 1/2 inch scale. Now we can simply begin to just draw our lines straight down. Notice how the drawing is the same, but it is blown up. When our drawings are blown up, we can make it look more pleasing to the eye and more details we can squeeze in when we have a larger drawing, opposed to trying to draw them very tiny on that 1/4 inch scale. At this time, I also want to draw in that side view of our side cabinet, because remember, we do have a profile on our side cabinets where that counter turns to make the L shape. So we have to draw this toe kick as shown at the bottom of your screen that is highlighted. The 4-inch toe kick is in the front, but also from the side of a cabinet, you will see it on the side as well. So you would take the same measurement, measure back 4 inches from the front of the cabinet, and then draw in the side vertical line to show the side view. And now we have a side view of that cabinet. At this point in your drawing, you can go through and erase as you go, or you can erase at the end. It is up to you. If lines are becoming kind of distractive to you, you can erase them throughout the entire process. If you know exactly what lines to erase, you can erase them later at the end of your drawing. Now that we have that side profile in, we can begin to add in our countertop thickness. So I'm just measuring again from the top of that counter or the cabinet height, and I'm measuring down 1.5 inches for a thickness of some type of countertop. And I'm just going to draw my line straight across. I'm going to skip over the stove because our stove space does not have a countertop, as we know and have learned. Our drawing again is becoming to look just like the smaller image that we had already created. When you want to do some little fine-tune erasing and you want to move some lines that ran over into your countertop, you can use, remember, your eraser shield to erase any small lines without having to erase a lot of the other lines that you created and you don't want to disappear. So use this eraser shield to your advantage. It's easy to help clean up your drawing. All of the cutouts serve a purpose. If something gets erased a little bit too much, it's okay. You can kind of go back and draw in those lines to kind of define it. So now this is what your drawing is starting to look like. It's mimicking what you have at the bottom and looking a lot larger. You now have your side profile of your cabinet, of your base cabinet at least drawn in. Remember, your side profile is supposed to be a heavy or dark line because it serves as a border. So you want to begin to shade in or darken in, I shall say, those lines at some point. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and draw in the 4-inch backsplash. Again, having a 4-inch backsplash or a backsplash at all is up to you for the countertop. Once I find my mark, again, just like you did on your checkpoint assignment, you're going to draw in that 1/4 inch, that 4-inch backsplash. And I once again skipped over the area for my stove because your backsplash or your bullnose backsplash does not run across the back of your stove. And then you can just connect it to where it ends on each side of your stove for each of those cabinets. Now that everything is drawn in, we can proceed to kind of work our drawing and create our upper cabinets. Looking back at my drawing, we know the spacing between our countertop and the bottom of our upper cabinets is going to be 18 inches at least. So remember, it's not from the top of your bullnose or 4-inch backsplash. It's from the top of your actual counter height, which is that 36-inch mark. So going ahead, measuring from the top of my countertop, 18 inches up, will give me the mark where my upper cabinets will begin. Once you have that mark, again, you're just going to draw that line right on in. And then your upper cabinets can be whatever you want them to be. If they're 24-inch cabinets, hopefully they're a little bit taller. Kitchen cabinets are usually about 30 inches or 36 inches. I'm going to choose to make my upper cabinets a full 36-inch cabinet. I have a lot of things I need to put in those cabinets. So once I find that mark, I'm going to go ahead and again draw my line straight across. Notice how I am constantly referencing back to my 1/4 inch drawing. So if I make a mistake anywhere, I have it right there ahead of me, in front of me, that I see, okay, it's not looking like what I created on my smaller scale. The upper cabinet, again, is going to be a side profile. So the cabinet that turns, you see the side of it, our upper cabinets and our cabinetry only comes out 12 inches. So I'm just making that 1 foot mark, and then I can go ahead and proceed to measure the rest of my upper cabinets. They kind of mimic the lower cabinets, so I can see where all of my marks are already. Once I have made them, begin to draw in your vertical lines. And you're just going to do this across your drawing from left to right. If you choose to have a cabinet above your refrigerator, that is up to you. If you choose to leave the space open, that is fine. If you don't want an upper cabinet, remember you would need to go back to your elevations, your floor plan, and just erase the dashed lines that are over the top of your refrigerator. Looking back at my drawing, I now can see, all right, now my enlarged image mimics and looks exactly like my 1/4 inch image. And now we're ready to begin to add details. The first thing is to look at our side profile of our cabinetry and begin to shade those in. But another area that we need to address will be the side view of our countertop. But first, I want to go ahead and shade in, or darken in, our side profile cabinets. Any of the lines drawn or connecting to show that profile must be drawn heavy. Notice that I drew the line from the top of the upper cabinet all the way to the lower base cabinet to the floor. And this is because we cut into the wall, so that wall where the cabinets lie on is a part of your profile. Another area that needs to be addressed, again, as I mentioned, is the side view of your kitchen countertop. All of our kitchen countertops have a small lip overhang, And it's usually the same as our countertop thickness, at least 1.5 inches or at least 1/2 inch. So what you're going to do is make that mark off the front of your cabinet. You're going to draw in, a guide. And then you're going to draw a vertical line down in between the top and the bottom of your countertop to show what it looks like from the side. Notice the heavy line that is created. So now it looks like a side view of that kitchen cabinetry and countertop. At this time, you can go in and erase the line that goes into the cabinetry area because the line is not shown. And that line that I'm referencing is that extra line for your countertop. This drawing is starting to look pretty good. Notice again, lines are precise, clean, and straight. You have your refrigerator and your stove area as well. Everything is set to go for you to add any of your details. What does your refrigerator look like? What does your stove look like? So now that you have your south wall completed, you can move and do the adjacent wall, which is the east view. You want your kitchen walls to be next to each other, with your south on the left and your east on the right. Your kitchen will be the exact same height. All of your lines will mimic and follow each other. So if you just move your drawing up, I'm just going to move mine up to get it out of my way. I might move it back. I can see again that everything leads together. Your counter heights will be the same. Your room height is the same. Your upper cabinets and base cabinets are all placed in the same area, the same heights. So just finding a spot and drawing in my first line to begin this east wall drawing. Again, I am going to now just measure the entire length of that wall. I've measured it and I already know what it is on a 1/4 inch scale because I want to create again my border for my space. Once you have that measurement in, go ahead and draw in a line. And then also that wall on the opposite end is an interior wall. So we want to go ahead and draw in the 5-inch interior wall thickness on your 1/2 inch scale. Once again, you're going to work this drawing the same way. You can go from left to right, top to bottom. It's up to you. Any of the extra lines that ran on because we drew a long line for your floor and your ceiling, you can go ahead and erase them now to disconnect the rooms or the walls, or you can leave them and erase them later at the end. Again, when it comes to erasing and also the order in which you draw your drawing, it's all up to you. Deciding to go ahead to work this drawing out, I'm just going to darken in my floor line. I am drawing across where everything meets. My toe kick, my cabinet heights, my counter heights, my backsplash. Notice from left to right, I'm just lining them up with the lines that are already drawn because again, nothing is going to change in your kitchen from one wall to the next. They're all going to read the same way because they're connected with the L shape. Even with my upper cabinets, they're at the exact same height on both walls. So I'm just drawing my lines again across. If I have my south wall created, I'm already halfway done with my east wall. Everything lines up. Even my soffit up top is going to line up and be the same measurement. I'm just going to stick this back down here. Again, your reference is your measurements that you have already begun to create. You can go through and make all your measurements. For your window, you want to make sure you have the measurement of your window. Notice that the opening full size of your window is from each side of the cabinet. So when you do this elevation, after you get that measurement in for your window, you can put any type of window sill thickness on it. You can make any type of window that you want. You can throw a window treatment on it. It's up to you. Setting that off to the side just for a quick moment to move my parallel bar down, I'm going to go through and just erase the lines that were kind of overdrawn. Just erasing them a little bit. And I'm just doing this visually for myself. I'm leaving a little bit of the line because I'm going to use them eventually for dimension strings. However, I don't need my dimension strings to go out that far. I just need them to come out a little bit so that I can put in my vertical heights on both sides of my drawings. It will always be the same. My ceiling height will be the same on both sides because it's an 8-foot ceiling and there's no ceiling height change in the kitchen. Now what you see, I have went ahead and drew in the side profile again on my east wall because that is the wall again where both my items, my cabinets will meet. So you will have a side profile on your south wall and on your east wall. So don't forget to darken in those lines to show those side profiles. And from here, you can go ahead and finish adding all of your cabinetry. When you put in your profiles, you can either leave them or go ahead and do some hatching. What I'm showing here is just taking a triangle and kind of turning it in a diagonal and creating these diagonal lines through my profiles of my cabinetry for both the top or base cabinets and the upper cabinets. There is no exact spacing at this time. You can just kind of draw in some evenly spaced diagonals to show a hatching pattern that is representation of a side profile. Again, my lines are still darkened in, so they're darker than the rest of my cabinetry, and I have some type of hatching feature in here so that it stands out as my side profile view. You can do the hatching on both walls again, or you can leave them blank. There is no right or wrong at this time for your side profiles. Once you have this completed, you're all set, and you can now add in any other features that you want to for your cabinetry. Go ahead and design the kitchen out and keep working. And you will do the exact same thing for your bathroom. Your bathroom will go directly up under your south kitchen view, and you will again use your 1/4 inch drawing scale to repeat the same thing to measuring it up to a 1/2 inch scale. Use those measurements that you have and just pull out your 1/2 inch scale and plot down everything that you have listed.